Ah, the Cyclops. Wait, isn't this supposed to have a scope? Has impressive numbers, but I'm not sure if it's practical. So let's get into it. The Cyclops is extremely impressive. I've seen it crit all the way up to 800,000 with Beetlejuice in the lead. I don't like to run Totally Rockin' Out on my builds because I want to have it in a more level playing field with a more average, decent loadout. And if you want to use Totally Rockin' Out, that'll make anything really good. And this is definitely a weapon where you might want to consider that, but I will say right off the bat that I don't think that this is exactly a primary weapon. So if you're using the Cyclops, you're probably going to want a faster firing weapon as your main primary, because if you're using a pistol loadout, I'll link my video in the description below on how to set that up. All of the pistol heroes also buff SMGs, so you could easily go with like the Pepper Sprayer or the Trinity as maybe your primary and use the Cyclops for miss monsters, because this thing hits for very, very good consistent damage. So you can see that this actually has about a 2x multiplier when it comes to headshot damage. So if you want like consistent overall hard hitting damage, then you could probably go pretty comfortably with a crit rating, crit damage, headshot build. Now, the reason that I'm not recommending double crit damage on this is because all of your eggs are now in one basket. Every single bullet, you will be crossing your fingers that you hit that 43% chance to crit. Again, if you're using Totally Rockin' Out, this might be a bit different for you. It depends on when your ability is active, and you should kind of try to know what you're doing there, but you might be able to go double crit damage if you're running Totally Rockin' Out. But in a normal build, crit rating double crit damage is going to be all of your eggs in one basket. You'll crit for a ton, and all of your shots will do a good amount. The Cyclops is a very capable weapon, but it's not going to be as consistent as I would prefer personally. So if I was using this weapon in a normal mission, as my secondary to like one of my main weapons, I would like to run crit rating, crit damage, and then headshot. Now, that being said about crit rating, crit damage, this does have a base 15% chance, and 43% is often enough. It's very, very nice. If you're using this for miss monsters, most of them will take multiple shots even without crit rating, crit damage. So you're going to, on average, have a chance to crit. So like the way that I explain this is if you're using, headshot or damage or something along those lines, it might take 3 to 4 shots to kill, and in that amount of time you would have most likely crit in that time frame. So I think crit rating, crit damage is a good way to go for this, and then headshot is just best for consistency. The Cyclops is a pistol that you're almost likely going to be, hip firing or scoping in with, and scopes are a little bit tougher, so it's going to require a little bit of good accuracy no matter how you slice it. So I'm definitely recommending this to the PC players if you're going to be trying this weapon. And then on the bottom here, it depends on your 6 perk. If you have Affliction like I do, then you might want to do damage to afflicted targets. You have Slowed and Snared, do Slowed and Snared. I'm not going to be covering the other 6 perks as much in this video, because it basically, standing still for 10 seconds will buff your damage or your miss monster damage, or it'll heal you with your shields. And I've covered those more in the Pepper Spray video. I'll link all of my other spy weapons in the description below, so you can check them out. This is the last one I'm covering, so all of them should be down there now. And since I've covered all the 6 perks in those other videos, I'm just going to move on and say that you're going to have to choose those specific to your situation. I mean, that is entirely unique to you. If you want to use this for a miss monster killer, use a miss monster one. If you want overall damage and you like standing still, use that, etc., etc. So if you don't have Affliction or Slowed and Snared, then you can probably do a second crit rating down here, and I really don't see much wrong with crit rating, crit damage, and a second crit damage. I mean, I know that there's a diminishing returns with double crit rating, and if you don't like the idea of your second crit rating being less effective than the first one, you could totally go an extra damage here, and that'll help in all of your shots. If you miss the headshot or you don't crit, that extra 30% damage will go kind of a long way. But in the overall consistency of things, I mean, second crit rating or crit damage, I think both are a perfectly good way to go, and it's kind of up to the user. So unfortunately, the best perks for the Cyclops aren't really cut and dry. Everybody likes crit rating, crit damage. It's like the fan favorite from all the players, but when it comes to a scoped pistol that shoots 1.6 shots a second and only has 6 shots before it needs to reload, we're not really looking at DPS anymore. It's not about how much damage you can do per second because you're firing so slow. What you want to do is hit as hard as you can as often as possible, and crit rating, crit damage will make you hit the hardest, but it won't be as consistent as a headshot perk. So if you want to go maximum DPS theoretical best and you're using Totally Rockin' Out, crit rating, double crit damage, and even a second crit rating or damage or match your 6 perk, etc. This 5th one is very, very, you can pick whatever you want here effectively. But if you want to go for a more practical build, which is going to work in more situations, then I think a crit rating, crit damage headshot build might be the best way to go. And if you are all about just, easy weapon to use, you want this to be as useful as maybe a primary as possible, you are going to take a hit to the overall damage, but I think reload, fire rate, and then damage is probably going to be the easiest way to use this weapon. It might not be the highest DPS, but you won't have to necessarily hit headshots to be effective. Remember, your headshot multiplier will still be 2 times by base, so you won't even need a headshot perk to hit a lot in the head, and it'll just be an overall more smooth experience, even though it might lack a little bit of the, crit oomph, if you know what I'm saying. As for the element on this, I'm going to link my elements video in the description below. If you're using this exclusively for mist monsters, you might want to go physical. However, elemental smashers will definitely laugh in the face of that. So I think energy might be the best all-around way to go. But again, that's totally up to you. So the Cyclops is there. Those are the best perks of the Cyclops depending on your situation. I don't know that this is, again, a fan favorite. This might be bottom tier for the spy weapons because even the turncoat, being a faster fire semi-auto weapon, is a little bit easier to use as a primary. The Cyclops is almost certainly a secondary meant specifically for mini bosses or, high level mist monsters. That's why in a lot of the gameplay that I shot for this video, I try to focus more on bigger targets because it's terrible at crowd clearing. I died in almost every encampment I played, but it hit hard enough, consistently enough to be a definite contender and a threat for mist monsters. So hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching and have a nice day.